You're listening to episode/session 85 of Primordial Harmony, a retelling of the classic Elemental Evil story in the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse. It's going to be a bit of a short session. My name's Mike, and tonight I'm joined by...
I'm Kitties, and I will be playing Hummer Kingren, the cutest the cutest gnome bard you've ever seen.
Hi, I'm Miles. I'm playing Tadias Oddenough. He's the drunkest Awesomar Seeker you've ever seen.
I'm Nyx, and I'm playing Vox, and she is a changeling rogue.
Hey, I'm Zap, and I play Zachary Vitalis, the most arm-growy, backiest of all.
Cinna, who takes the role of Delia, will not be joining us tonight. But that's alright. So yes. When we last left the Excavators... We left the Excavators, that is, Delia, Hum, Tadias, Vox, and Zachriel, in the dim halls of the Black Earth cult's stronghold, which is sometimes called the Temple, but it's really more of a center of power than a center with places of worship within. But anyways, after Tadias made a bit of a fuss over turning left, a Black Earth cultist entered the hall from the adjacent room to investigate. But instead of seeing the party, the cultist saw Vox acting the part of a cultist, capturing Tadias. She was so convincing that the cultist took it in stride and left her to it. Quickly, the party walked by and explored the next room, a bit north and to the left, where they found a Black Earth priest and several lackeys worshipping some kind of obelisk that had, what the party would come to learn, is a deep gnome chained to it. I guess I should have said who. Oops. The priest called a black pudding to ooze from the porous stone obelisk, claiming the deep gnome as sacrifice to the ooze. The party jumped into action without hesitation. Only suffering an acid burn, the deep gnome was saved, and the priest and her lackeys all killed, save for one that surrendered right out. The group came to know Rookelmoth Glitterstone, Rook for short, who had been captured by the cult as he was exploring the stronghold as well as what lies below to find Suni's spade, for his father was the mortal disciple of Suni's and saved her essence when she fell, artificing her soul into the shovel now carried by Zachriel. Luckily for him, it turned out the Excavators were way ahead of him. Suni's spade was in their possession and awake. Rook's world would be further rocked as he learned that the PCs carried Chan's chimes as well, and that Zachriel was a reincarnation of Zaman Rule. With that revelation done, and the captive cultist swiftly eliminated, Rook told the party exactly where to find Marlos, the leader of the Black Earth cult, and where he held his lair. The Excavators psyched themselves up and entered the room. Evidence of Marlos's petrifying gaze, statues of tortured humans in agony all around. Marlos enters from a room further into this hall, and the party avert their gaze. After some back and forth and threats, Marlos attacks, joined by a shadow demon, a bullet, and shortly a corrupted earth elemental. Delia took a few nasty blows from Marlos's war pick as the clumsy bullet tried to go for Suni's spade. During the pitched battle, Tadias cast haste on Zachriel, and with his mind and body quickened, he leaps into action, ready to eliminate the threat of Marlos and restore the mind of the Earth Elemental. But, as he turns to do that, the bullet takes the perfect shot and bites off Zachriel's arm, spade and all. However, Zachriel, in shock, adapts, as quickly forming from the stump in his shoulder, a gout of flame that acted as a new arm emerged. The struggle continued for several tense seconds, as Zachriel was knocked unconscious over and over, only to be revived in time to act thanks to Hum. As the rest of the party fought on, Zachriel was able to take a sack from his pack and pull it over Marlos's head and pinned him down. The demon and Boulette were soon defeated, and so too was Marlos knocked unconscious. All that remained was the Earth Elemental. Zachriel, determined to restore its will, worked with Suni's, and after a few tries, they finally did it. The Earth Elemental on their side, the room quieted. The party considered what to do with the war pick Marlos used, for this seemed to be the sort of key that Safnir told Tadias to find and learn of. With the memory of what happened to Venifer's dagger, Hum cast Dispel Magic upon the weapon. With no further wish to deal with Marlos, the party swiftly ended him. And curiously, like Venifer disappearing in a puff of flame and smoke, Marlos turned into a puddle of loose, gravelly mud. The weapon appeared to be stable, so the party did some looting of Marlos' room, then collected their new friends and allies, including Lucy the Boulette. They did notice as they trekked back through the temple, other than their new companions, the place was emptied out of any other cultists. The party left the complex, and the strange node of air elemental energy behind. It is still Kythron 28. We go back to the area just outside the complex / temple. Zachariel working to restore the wills and the minds of the earth elementals in the carts designed by Solid Strides. There we go. Trying to scroll back. Get some different ambience going here. What the fuck? All right. So, to rewind a bit, I know that last session I said that we are already on the way back to Orboro, but there's a few things that I feel we need to cover. So to paint the scene, you guys are in that area where there were several different tunnels going off, one going into the temple that you just came out of. There was another that led in a different direction, and then the one you came from, as well as a few alcoves in the walls. With you are the 4 captives, one of which is Orna, a Black Earth Guard who is now no longer a cultist, and Deirdre, a human woman who has been catatonic this whole time and had to be led around, Walgrida, a female dwarf fighter, and Grevor, a half-elf archer. They're all with you as you're here. As you guys are waiting on Zachariel to use Suni's spade to restore the elementals in the carts, Rook looks to Hum and he says, "Do any of you have a map? I can show you where you are. I'm not sure if you know."
There's I can help you out. I unfurl a map from my little cartography kit. Where are we?
So he takes the map and he... One moment. He says, "You see the cartograph... or he, he points to this.
Yeah.
He says, "Right, that's a really large pit that is mostly sand and a few wet spots here and there. It's sort of a sinkhole. There's an entrance to this complex right here." And as he's pointing it out, he's saying this in... So, like, Hum is translating for him. He's saying all of this. And as he's sort of gesturing to the map, Grevor walks up and is, checking over under the dim light of somebody's cast light, I'm sure. And he looks down and he points at the same spot. And he says, the sinkhole there, the mud pit, The really large mud pit? That's where we were before we were taken. Rook then doesn't really... Of course he doesn't understand what Grevor says, but he turns and he points to the tunnel you haven't gone in yet. And he says, that there, that'll take you right to the surface there. And Grevor asks, what did you say? And Hum clarifies that for him. And he looks at the party and he says, ooh. He looks to his companions, then back to the party, and he says, we would very much like it if you could escort us out that way. And if you can spare any supplies, we'll make our way back to Galtona. We can take care of Deirdre and make sure she gets home to her family.
I note the path on the map that he mentioned. It doesn't seem like we have many other directions to go. Might as well help them out.
Sounds like the best idea. Take them. It's better than dragging them back to Ouroboros and then having to have them backtrack.
There might be more on gig on the way too. It might not be safe.
Well, we got Lucy.
As long as we can get to the surface, I think we'll be able to make our way back from there.
Right. Also, there's that dragon thing. I don't want to run into that again.
Dragon?
He looked like one.
He pales, visibly.
Yeah, it didn't look normal, natural. It was subterranean of some sort, but the path seems the wisest decision for a start.
Hey Justin, are you good? You have your mic muted.
Microphone check. Checkity check check.
Mic check
Uh-oh.
1, 2. Uh-oh. Okay, well, I'll let him take care of the mic. So... Hold on, I wanted to do...
Hello?
Hello!
There it
I can
is.
hear you now.
Yeah, I forgot. I had it muted because, I'm like working on the carts and stuff.
Alright. Orna, the once Black Earth Guard, walks up to Zachariel as soon as he finishes. He looks like he finishes with one of the carts. And she says, so tell me more about becoming a way shield, you called it? What's that like?
Oh, it's a lot like finding a purpose, a place to put all your skills. For example, I was trained from a very early age to use a sword and shield. It's not exactly the most civil of jobs.
But what do you do? What do you do exactly?
Well, you know how you here with the cult, you were paid, or not really paid. You did whatever they wanted you to, right?
They did pay me, yeah.
Well, you see, as a mercenary, you get to take the jobs you choose, whichever ones are available, and you can basically do whatever you want as long as you work to the confines of the contract. So, say someone's looking for safe passage across the South Road. Doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you fulfill the job.
She strokes her chin, and she says, and it pays good?
Well, not all jobs pay the same, but you can rest assured you are paid well.
And there's no, they don't make me worship rocks or anything, right?
No, you're free to worship whatever you choose. I don't put much faith in gods and such.
She puts her hands on her hips and says, good job with honest pay. where I can still sometimes beat the shit out of creatures and sometimes people.
Oh, almost definitely. I start listing off the rap sheet of things I've slain.
She's listening to that, like all the creatures you're listing, and her eyes are just transfixed and her mouth is slightly open. And she says, I like the sound of that. And no more priests telling me that rocks are holy. And she kicks a stone on the ground. I'm coming with you.
Good. Oh, if you ever come across a frog hemoth, just avoid those.
Oh, the frog hemoth.
So, the three captives who aren't Orna walk towards the mouth, or walk toward the corridor that would lead them back out to the surface on this side, and they look at the party with, you know, sort of pleading. At least Gervor and Walgreda look at the party pleadingly.
Were we going to travel now, or are we going to rest first?
Well, if you, so just to remind you, it is it's not too late in the day.
Really?
Yeah, you guys started this in the morning, and it has not been that long.
I was thinking that this giant eastern travel from Orborough through the mines would have been a lot more longer.
Well, you started from Orborough. You started, then you got to the entrance of the temple, and then you took a snooze, and then you went in there fresh in the morning.
Alright, that makes sense. Alright, we ready to go? Any more drapes we need?
Just do it.
Well, you find that the corridor out on that side is not too much of a trek. It is a trek in the sense where you have to it's a sloped path, and you find that you have to really lean into your steps in order to make your way up, and it's a bit of a hike. But about 2 hours later, you emerge into the sort of clean air of the Maastricht Mountains, and there's a small sort of a pathway through the crags that you see, and you see overlooking this huge flat of sandy mud that goes on for a few miles. And Gregor walks up to Tadias, who has been interacting with him the most, and he goes for a handshake and he says, "Thank you for all you've done."
No, we will. I give him that strong handshake and I kind of nod at him.
Good luck in your endeavors.
Yeah, sure.
He takes one more look at you and then joins up with his companions, and him and his dwarf companion are slowly leading Deirdre down the path north. Or more like northwest.
Take care.
You too, they call back.
Hum runs up to Deirdre, and she grabs her and she looks her in the eye and she says, "You're safe now. It's okay to come out of hiding."
She stares at Hum for several moments, and her eyes get glassy, and she hugs her. And lets the hug go.
And Hum lets them know, get her a few drinks. It'll break.
Will do. Make their way. And as they're about 50 yards away, well out of your line of sight, Hum, the ground breaks from beneath you, and Lucy pops up.
Hum jumps up and down and claps and throws Lucy a ration and says, "Good girl."
And then just kind of like looks back up at you expectantly.
Zachary kind of winces when she comes up out of the ground.
She's gonna be the best companion ever.
Tadai's just gonna scratch his head and start thinking of all the implications of bringing Lucy into a town. Oh boy. We should keep going, right? Lucy knows commands she'll follow.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know how long she's gonna stay, but I like her.
Delia echoes the sentiment.
Maybe we could teach her to stay outside of towns.
Delia says, maybe she can just burrow underground in town.
Oh, you're so smart, Delia. You know what? She really needs, Delia? She needs a collar
Yes.
with glitter.
And perhaps your uncle Dimitri could make a collar.
Dimitri can make many things. He's probably best we bring him outside the town to meet for sizings, or we can measure her in some way.
She could live at Zachriel's house. That's outside of
No.
town.
No.
Hey, I mean, I see this as an opportunity to really get the
No.
most of this excavator thing, you know.
No. Sorry, the house is
You
full.
Hum's shoulders slump and she kind of gets teary-eyed and she looks up at Zach with her big brown eyes, just like tears welled up in them.
He looks the other way.
You know,
Kinda
Lucy
like
could
looks
live
up
in her
towards the
basement,
sky
Gabrielle.
Yeah,
But
sorry,
she would eat the knoll.
she would eat, exactly. I don't know if you... He's got his like one arm hidden behind his back.
But
I kind of like take a little like squat next to Hum and say, please realize Zachariel recently has done very well with these creatures, so be a little patient. I kind of hold my hand up, and then I kind of like close it.
Plus, he probably has to run it by Floriana, right?
I'll talk to Floriana.
We've already got a dog. We don't need whatever this would classify as.
She's a bullet.
Right.
And she was abused and she was abandoned, just like me.
What kind of check to know what bullets eat?
Yeah, roll, I think it's gonna have to be either Arcana or Nature, whichever.
It's arms.
I'll go with Arcana.
Bullets eat
Probably gnomes.
damn near anything, but they favor more geological items, specifically stones.
I began like drafting up like an almost like a caretaking package, like, you know, if you had like to leave your dogs for someone to like house at them, and start kind of drafting up what the bullet would need as best I can for like a daily or like weekly rations.
You remember reading, and you remember doing some reading where there's an offhanded mention that some bullets enjoy particular types of limestone, and some enjoy precious stones like rubies, sapphires, and that they can be seen as quite the delicacy.
And once I have the entire notes written, I will hand off to Hum. This is the best I can remember to help you with getting started, I guess.
Hum looks around and sees if she can find any big rocks around the area that they're at.
I mean, there's rocks everywhere. You're in a rocky mountain range.
So she picks up a couple stones and she goes to hand them to Lucy to see what Lucy will eat.
She sniffs them, and then like puts her big, weird tongue against it, and like takes a little nibble. And,
Lucy, you have to eat the cheap stuff because the expensive stuff is too much.
Lucy shies away from you, a little nervous, and Delia says, "Not the gentle voice, remember?"
It wasn't gentle.
Oh, you want to come live with Zach, real?
She shies away from Zachriel and starts to make like a kind of weird bleeding noise. And
Lucy, come stand next to me now.
And she does so. Stamp, 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 stamp.
All I'm saying, is perhaps, maybe you should see if Lucy wants to be free. Owning a bullet, I imagine, is a big commitment, and I already have one pet at the house, and it is Dante. Do you want me to get rid of Dante so we can have a bullet?
I didn't want to get rid of Dante from the party, but Cara Hill didn't like him.
This is what this has become.
I know that we can't keep
Dante
Lucy.
didn't bite my arm off.
Lucy, don't bite your arm off. I know we can't keep Lucy. Can't bring her anywhere. But I didn't want to leave her chained in that building with those monsters. And I don't want her to go to those monsters.
Technically, you can keep her. I'm just saying it's going to be a lot of work.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, says Delia, she did follow us.
Well,
we may not
than
have
one way
a
to deal with
choice.
something that follows you.
Oh,
Stern look from Delia.
don't you dare.
And Lucy like growls at Zachriel a little bit, but it's not like an angry growl, it's more like a listen to her kind of growl. It has that kind of lilt at the end where it's like, yeah.
He just audibly sighs and starts walking away. Is it this way, Thaddeus?
Is he going the right way?
Well, Rook is standing there kind of watching this exchange, and he's just like looking back at the mouth of the cavern you guys popped out of.
Hum walks up to Rook and she says, I'm sorry, we're just taking care of technicalities. Where is it that you'd like to be?
Well, first of all, did you tame that bullet?
I don't know if I'd call it tame or befriend.
How did you come by it?
It was chained up in a room in the cultist's lair.
Oh. Huh. Alright, well, to answer your question, he says, I'll just stick with you lot, considering you're doing the most work against the cults. And
You can never have too many gnomes in a party.
Very, very subtle smile on his face when she says that. And he says, if you direct me to go elsewhere, I can do some scouting as well with my ability. Although it did get me into the pickle you found me in, so I don't know how far we can push that, but it's there.
And maybe we can work on some common with you. Learning a new language might be good.
Yeah, especially since all of them either spoke common or spat at me when I tried speaking different dialects of Primordial, so that sounds like it'll be a good... I haven't been on the surface much in my life at all, so learning the common language up here is probably not a bad idea.
I'll stick around. You're welcome.
He smiles.
And she looks at Zachariel and she says, "We're keeping Rook too."
Okay, listen, you get to choose one. Do you
All
want
right.
the
This
gnome
one
friend, or
is
do you want the bullet creature?
listen. He's a spy. He could come in handy.
All right. How about this, Zachariel? She chooses the bullet. I choose the gnome. You good?
Fine, whatever. Let's just get out of here.
All right, let's go. I really don't want to be down here much longer, especially with that thing around.
My entire body and my new arm hurt very much.
Just to remind you, you're not down anywhere. You're up top at the mouth of this cavern.
So you've done all the traveling there?
No. You've okay. So I might have to draw a diagram. So you're here,
Yes.
and I assume you want to go back to Orboro. Yes.
I don't think we've expressed that.
Oh, where are you going?
I don't know. He said it gets to the surface. That's just it. We're gonna be in the mountains, so we can go right to the Silge Road. We can go to the Orbro. I mean, it depends on you all.
Okay, yeah, figure it out. Rook, like looks questioningly, like, where do you plan on going? I mean, you got those freed elementals down there.
Yeah, we have to go back to Orboro because we need Renwick.
Alright, there is that. I also wonder if there's some clues in this, and I kind of hold up the war pick. Before we go too far off, we should maybe see what it has.
Rook stares at that, and he gets like this kind of worried look on his face, and he says to Hum, "He's not attuning to that, is he?"
I would hope not. Tadias, Rook is worried about you attuning to that, so be
Nice.
very careful.
Nice.
And she asks him in Gnomish, what would be wrong with him attuning to it?
Well, I can sense a sort of... He says, I've got a bit of an affinity for Sunni and the power struggle that exists in the plane of Earth, and that thing has the same essence of her nemesis.
And she tells them about that.
I kind of give him a look to Zachariel.
You look at Zachariel and he's looking at his new arm.
Zach.
Huh?
How do you feel about this weapon that might be an antagonist, I suppose?
I suppose it depends. I mean,
What does Sunni
up until now, everything we've come across has been corrupted, and there was always a way to fix it.
It's not like super loud, but you can definitely hear like the or if you can just feel this sense from Sunni. Like she hasn't like vocalized anything in a little bit, but she is definitely like, do not touch that weapon. And
Very
if you like
strong resentment.
if you think about it, like, and she sort of picks up on you thinking about it, and she sort of vocalizes to you, that is made with an essence of my enemy, Ogremok. His taint could be passed along to you if you're not careful.
To me specifically, or to anyone?
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure.
She says to be careful handling that, and especially I should not. It could pass taint on or something.
As you guys are sort of investigating this thing, you notice something. It's been a couple hours since you've gotten out of the temple, because it took you about 2 hours to walk up here. And you notice that the pick has started to darken. It's a very subtle process. It seems to be happening regardless, but it's happening much more slowly than the dagger.
Be here much longer. We should probably learn what we can. I'm gonna
Well-
hold up and take a spot on the ground and start object reading it.
All right. You start
I'm
object
glad.
reading.
While he's doing that, I'm going to see if I can get Lucy to let me ride her.
I mean, you've been on her the entire time. Well,
Oh, okay.
you were on her. She went under you to get you on top of her.
Okay, so she's saying ride her then.
Yeah, when you like start walking somewhere, like she walks behind you, stamp, 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 and tries to like push onto you with her nose to like get you on tower back. And Delia's already sitting up there.
I just see this as a really good protection of the gnomes.
Can you key the object reading for me? I just want to read it again.
And
I wonder what the bullet tastes like.
asking the real questions.
Okay. So this war pick that you are reading, it is definitely a bad vibe you get from it. Very, very evil intent that is been sort of sealed into this implement. It is made of a pure iron that originates from the plane of Earth as opposed to a prime material location. Its creation, you come to understand, is a process where instead of this thing wasn't forged like you might think it would be, considering it's entirely metal. Where's the thing? You sort of see this. I'm in the wrong tab. That's why. You see this vision of stone and what you sort of recognize as iron ore being crushed together by some monumental pressure. Like if somebody concentrated the weight of a mountain onto a single point, and it's as if something willed this thing into its shape. And you can just feel the movement of stone and earth that is doing this thing. And one of the things that happened to it that was very traumatic for the item in the way the object reading works is that it was shunted from the plane of Earth into the prime material in a very strange way, a way you can't really comprehend. Another moment in its history was this moment where a cloaked figure pulls it from what seems like a slot that is designed for it. You get the impression of some kind of dark ziggurat in some cavernous system, and the weapon Ironfang is locked into this slot. A hand that is covered in white scales grabs it and pulls it free of the slot. And then the next impression you get is this exchange where a creature with the same snaky hair that Marlos had is on one knee before the creature that pulled it from its slot. And you get the impression of promises exchanged and rewards to be gained. And you're back, and that's all you get from it with object reading.
Okay. I give them the details I saw, and then I also remind them that Safnir warned us that we would need something like this.
Does Hum translate for Rook?
Absolutely.
That sounds like that place I told you about earlier. That's, and he does air quotes again, under the temple. That's under all the temples. He does air quotes for the temple, too. It's sort of a nexus where this influence of elemental evil is sort of bleeding into the prime material.
It's something that needs to be dealt with eventually.
Yeah, but we need rest and we need to heal. And Zachrael needs to get used to his new arm.
It honestly feels just like the old one. It's weird.
But you just said you were in pain.
Or you could say that,
Wait, does it have all the same scars?
No, it's like a brand new arm. It's an arm as if he had never, or it's an arm as if it had never been injured.
It looks weird on his body. There's like no marks. It's like a baby arm.
But like perfectly proportioned and muscled for him.
Dude, Genasi's tan.
Well, he's immune to fire, or not immune, he's resistant to fire damage, so I can't imagine that he does. Or maybe he... Wow, that's a question I would have never considered.
And like,
do fire genasi tan? Maybe they turn like a darker red in the sun after a while.
they just
and
get like
it shouldn't have any armor on it because the armor would have gone with the arm. And so it's like this. He's got one of those arms cut off his shirt. So it's just hanging out there looking brand new.
Oh no, they ruined
my splint.
your splint.
Sun's out, guns out, man.
And I can just imagine it having little. I guess, do Genasi have arm hair?
Does Zachrael arm hair?
He does, yeah.
So I spoke too soon last time, but I mean, there's probably it's probably bare right now, but you know, there's follicles there.
Now everybody's just staring at Zachrael's arm.
I pull my attention away from it and say, we have many things to discuss and do, but I need to keep this weapon. It's part of the prophecy. It's part of something that will help us. I don't
Can
need
Can
to
you
use
put it somewhere where it doesn't touch you then?
Throw it in a bag.
Did Safnir tell you anything?
I'm worried it's going to be more dangerous if I don't know where it is. If someone attacks us the way Ashwig used to.
Ashwig.
So, if it is too dangerous to do so, if you do not think I'm capable, I will put it in the baggage. Just worry for it.
Look, I think you're capable, but, you know, I would really hate for something to pork you.
I dealt with darkness before. I'm not afraid, I guess, of the frying pan.
Delia. Oh, sorry.
That's it.
Well, Delia says, "Hey, Tadias, do you have any more slots left for identify? Maybe we can figure more out with that spell."
I don't think I do. Let's see. No, I got one. I will hold my hand over it and I will do this identify spell.
All right. I'm gonna move the information from GM notes to the regular part of the handout. I wonder if this is gonna tempt Tadias for one reason. Uh, One second.
All this hubbaloof is evil too thick.
Oh, it is spelled right. The fuck, Google Chrome? Alright. Ironfang. Weapon, Warpick. Legendary. A Warpick forged from a single piece of iron, Ironfang has a fang-like head inscribed with ancient runes. The pick is heavy in the hand, but when the wielder swings the pick in anger, the weapon seems almost weightless. The weapon is immune to any form of rust, acid, corrosion. Nothing seems to mark it. Ironfang contains a spark of Ogremok, the Prince of Evil Earth. You gain a +2 to attack and damage rolls that you make with this magic weapon. When you hit with it, the target takes an extra 1d8 thunder damage. You gain the following benefits while you hold Ironfang. You can speak Terran fluently. You're resistant to acid damage. You have Tremor Sense up to a range of 60 feet. You can sense the presence of precious metals and stones within 60 feet of you, but not their exact location. You can cast Dominate Monster on an Earth Elemental. Once you've done so, Ironfang can't be used this way again until the next dawn. Ironfang has 3 charges. You can use an action to expend 1 charge to cast a 2nd level version of Shatter. Ironfang regains 1d3 expanded charges at dawn. While inside an Earth node, you can perform a ritual called the Rumbling, using Ironfang to create a Devastation Orb of Earth. Once you perform the ritual, Ironfang can't be used to perform the ritual again until the next dawn. Ironfang heightens the wielder's destructive nature. When attuned to the weapon, you gain the following flaw: I like to break things and cause ruin. Return. When the attuned wielder of Ironfang is killed, their body turns to a pile of damp earth and the weapon returns to the Ziggurat.
Share the information as best I can to the other party members.
So does that mean that it has to be attuned to someone or it's going to disappear?
I think so.
Does that mean that the dagger that Yennefer had is also at the ziggurat?
It might be a different thing. The ziggurat might be for the earth in case maybe there's someone fire over. If they're all
Well-
one spot, then we definitely get to.
Come again?
I said if they're all in one place, we definitely need to get there. But it's disappearing. I don't think we have a choice in this matter. Someone has to.
But are you okay with feeling like you want to destroy things and create ruin?
If it's going to be cultists, possibly. I trust you all to direct me in the right path.
We still have our shackles, if you're too bad.
I'm just saying that what if that weapon makes you want to do things that you would not normally want to do?
I very much believe it will.
Considering we will be exact opposites.
Delia's got like a grimace on her face. And Rook says, What are you discussing?
Tell them that it's disappearing and that someone needs to tune to it to keep it here.
She tells him everything and then asks him what he thinks about that because he has that history from his father.
I don't think it's a good idea for him to attune to the item, but if it returns to the ziggurat, that means that the next in line can just pick it up and use it.
And she expresses that to the group.
But you slowed it with a spell, didn't you?
Do you think that casting the same spell could affect it today?
I mean, I dispelled its magic, and she's talking to Rook. I dispelled the magic on it, but it's still. I don't know that affects.
It's slow it.
Well, it definitely slowed it. That's what Delia inputs with. Like, compared to the dagger disappeared after only a couple minutes. It's been hours, and it's only starting to get dark. We still have time, I think.
I think we need to get back to our Litchi Poo and see what he knows.
Delia blushes.
Very good. Trust your judgment. I put it in the bag and I try to not touch it as best I can. Shall we?
So you guys hike down, back down this cavern, and it's much easier because it's downhill. Although there are a couple times where you have to be careful to not fall, because you know when you're hiking down a really steep hill and you're like, yeah, I can run, but then that's a really bad idea because if you fall, you're fucked. It's like that the entire way down.
Oh,
But eventually you get there. Nothing's changed. It's a much shorter trip, of course. Nothing's changed. It is now, in terms of time of day, it's probably 2 in the afternoon. Well, no, actually, so it didn't take you that long to storm the place. So it's probably noon-ish. And if you remember, you left the Sacred Stone Monastery around the same time. So as everyone sort of thinks about the travel ahead, you get the impression that you'll probably be able to get back to Orboro just after dark, considering how long the days are.
As long as we don't run into the Amethyst Dragon again.
I'm more worried about a horde of ankegs at the moment.
Lucy looks at Hum expectantly.
Your pet looks like it's hungry again.
Well, as you guys are discussing this at the bottom of the pit, it's sort of like looking around. And Delia says, I think he wants us to tell it where to go. Tell her where to go.
Go get something to eat, you crazy little thing.
She stamps over to a bundle of boulders and starts to pick through it. You hear the crack of stone as she bites down. And what looks like a vein of some kind of metal is exposed, and she starts to lick it like a salt lick.
What a strange creature.
Hum goes over to kind of pick at it to see if she can identify what kind of metal it is or
Roll
Or
a
it is.
nature check.
Why hasn't the archaeological society decided to use these things? They feel very useful.
Katie would love this. Maybe that's what we should do.
Okay, do you not remember when one of these creatures bit my arm off?
Are we going to go back there?
I'm just saying, you want to give one of these savage beasts to one of Tedai's only love interests in this land.
I give him like the fuck you talking about? Look.
Tadias also knows there's probably a good reason why they don't try to tame bullets.
Tadias, what is this metal? I can't tell.
Let me take a look. What am I doing? Raw nature.
Roll nature.
Yeah. I accidentally closed my nature. But no idea.
Perhaps we should have asked the dwarf before he left.
Oh, wait. She says to Rook, Rook, what is this? Do you know what this metal is? Or this ore is?
Peers at it. Looks like just a bit of a mix of. He squints a bit. It's probably some copper sulfide and some iron oxide in there. You can tell by the sort of bluish color, but it's not very pronounced. There's probably not a lot of copper in there.
Fascinating. We found the bullet's favorite food, I guess.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Well, while she's eating, we could slowly creep away.
Yeah, that seems to be working.
You then hear a crunch of stone, and Lucy gobbles up a big chunk of that boulder. She sets down and gives a satisfied rumble. You're unsure because it's not like she burped, but some digestive process is going on in that iron stomach of hers.
I say let's go. Let's get back to where we need to be.
Oh, you want to leave her? You're game for that.
Hey, Miles, we can hear
Let's go.
We can hear your breath, Miles.
Oh, again?
Yep.
Why does it do that all the time? I'll go fix that.
So with these carts that are now in your use, the earth elementals who have spent a few months in a good way with the employees of Solid Strides, making friends and learning the joys of gliding through the earth. They let you hop on, and it's simple enough to get going. It takes a little bit of doing to get Lucy on, though.
Actually, she was just going to whistle for Lucy to follow.
Alright. Lucy does. But after a while, she sort of jumps onto one, and it rocks the cart, and then she just settles down.
And Hum just scratches behind her little plate on her head.
And Delia, bang, 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 on her, like, with the flat of her palm, just pat, pat, pat. And you guys begin making your way back.
Hum yells at Zachariel and says, "Don't worry, I told her not to eat your arms."
Thank you for being concerned.
About a couple hours into your trip, you actually pass the place where you met with the Amethyst Dragon, and there's no sign of her. But an hour or so after that, you hear in your mind. Hello? I seem to have forgotten myself. Who am I? Will you remind me?
Shit, I can't remember her name.
It's in the item.
Oh, hi, Chan.
Chan? Is that my name? It sounds
It
like
is
the
your
breath of...
name.
It sounds like a breath of wind. Chan.
You are a breath of wind.
That feels like it should be flattering. Is that flattering?
Absolutely.
Why, thank you. And what is your name? Who are you?
My name is Hum. Do you remember when we met and we started working together? It's been a while.
I remember a very dark person held me. Very unpleasant.
We saved you from him.
Oh, I thank you.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is Hum having this all in her mind, like talking back in her mind, or is she actually talking?
That's a question for you to answer.
She is actually talking in her mind.
So this is all in Hum's thoughts.
Okay.
What a scary place.
I can feel a bit of darkness in you as well. But it seems like that of a wound more than an intent.
The darkness comes from other places. It is not my intention to be evil. Don't worry, we killed the evil.
There's just this sort of breeze of like positive feeling that sort of moves through you. It feels like you're standing on a field of long grasses that are being blown by the wind, and you can feel it in your hair and sort of flowing around your body. Seems like it's meant to be comforting.
And she finds it comforting. She said, Chan, is there something I can do to help you remember?
Stay with me, I suppose. I feel that I have an important role to play in something. A memory that seems to be as evanescent as a gust of wind.
Well, maybe if I played the chimes, it would help.
Maybe. Maybe.
Well, when we get to where we're going, it's probably not a good time right now. We will work on that.
All right. I will rest a while now.
And I'll keep you safe.
This sort of breath on, like, you can, it's not actually wind on your ear, but you feel like there's a breeze around your ears that is whispering, thank you. And then the feeling you get just sort of dampens to this sort of very slight just influence on your demeanor. Just a little bit of like a restful, positive vibe. And the rest of the journey to the underside of the Sacred Stone Monastery is unmolested, unaccosted. And you guys... You find that it's kind of a pain to get these carts up if you try. Do you try to get the carts out of the cave here, up the stairs? So there's stairs that you use to get down here. Do you try to get those carts from Solid Strides up those stairs?
I have this idea. We could use Lucy to do that.
Oh. Lucy burrows, and enough tunnel is there. Yeah, that it can definitely see that happening. So it takes it happens in short order as Lucy uses her burrowing ability to just get a space to let these carts out, and you find that the Sacred Stone Monastery is still abandoned, but with Renwick's room still under arcane lock. But as for the cultists, there's no one else here. Except for the now stinky corpses of those you eliminated.
Okay, I'll give credit where credit's due. Lucy helped there.
Hey, Zachariel.
Yes?
Chan contacted me, and she seems to be forgetting who she is.
Oh, you should try talking to her.
We had a good conversation, but I think I need to use her more. She kind of scares me, though.
Why? Is it because now you're the crazy one talking to a item?
Well, not only that, but with Suni, you have so much control. I don't feel as in control with Chan. And she has some interesting powers.
This is nonsense, You just have to believe in yourself. Me and Suni fight as one. You just believe in yourself, and you could get there with John.
Okay. She decides to pull the chimes out and just ring them.
All right, let's hop into that item entry.
Everyone dies.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I just roll one and we all die.
Let's see. So, go ahead and roll that d20. Ooh.
What?
Well, very good vibes. So the result for that is, although you can roll a d6 or a d8 to influence it if you want. Because it's a pretty good one.
I really kind of like this one.
All right.
Because everybody's going to regain half of their HP back.
Chan's endorsement. Whatever you did, I approve. Common up to 5 creatures of our choice that can hear the chime regain half their HP maximum, and are granted advantage on their next d20 roll.
Dope.
Well, that helped a lot.
So the visual effect is she rings the chime, and starting from her hands basically is this sort of current of wind that is sort of a tornado. It's a spinning current of wind, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and soon it encapsulates the entire party, along with Orna, who has been with you this whole time, and Rook, and Lucy, and you can just sort of make out this image on the wind that looks like this sort of collection of mist that's turning into a cloud, and there's this very benevolent, kindly looking face in this mist that smiles at you and then just sort of dissipates as you and your party are healed, as you feel this invigorating energy flow through you, and your wounds knit, and the bruises regenerate into newly strong skin and flesh.
I don't know what you did, but I think it worked.
It was Chan.
Well, yeah, but that's the first time you guys have done something in a couple of days, and that was a great outcome.
It felt good. We'll have to
Oh.
see what happens.
Told you to believe in yourself, and it worked.
I'm going to give you a point of concordance for that, because that was really good.
You know, Hum, I was having another thought. If,
Oh, yeah?
Chan is the essence of good air, and Suni is the essence of good earth. What if we touched them together? Maybe Suni could help Chan in some way. Or,
Well,
nothing could
that
happen.
sounds good. I'm up for it. I think that Chan is starting to forget who she is.
Yeah, at least we could find a way to help her, maybe. Maybe it just is you have to use her more.
Up until this point, Chan never spoke. It was just a weird kind of dream thing that you interacted with her in. So this is an improvement, as opposed to a regression, just to remind you.
I forgot.
Oh, I reminded you. This is the first time Chan's ever spoken to you.
I tell that to Zachariel.
Well, that makes sense. With Sony, it started as dreams and feelings like emotions, or and then whispers.
Well, at first there was the feelings and the whispers, and then I didn't hear from her a long time. But of course, I wasn't pulling her out because I didn't want people to see her.
You were keeping her hidden. You must embrace it. Even if it cost you an arm.
You're not going to let that go, are you?
A very Rue laugh, like a feeling of a very Rue laugh from Suni.
Well, he had to let go of Sunni because he lost the arm, so I mean, makes sense.
It's true.
You really should get a grip on that, though.
You're right. Perhaps I should eat more bacon.
I mean, yeah, do that.
So, let me ask you guys, is this walk and talk? Are you guys heading back toward Orboro, or are you just hanging out in the Sacred Stone Monastery?
I think
They can walk and talk.
Walk and talk? Okay, just making sure.
I feel like Chan kind of invigorated everybody, so we're moving a little bit more peppier.
Yeah, definitely.
Considering I was very hurt, I am inclined to agree.
You guys round a couple of bends and you tread the same road that you've tread a couple of times now. Fortunately, the only bullet you see is the one that is allied with you, as opposed to one that burst out of the ground and attacked you. And you start to descend down, and you see Orboro at the bottom of at the foot of the mountains.
Hum stops all of a sudden, and she's like, should we walk up with Lucy or ask her to stay here?
Well, I mean, the person who's defending the northern wall is Renwick, correct?
I think they have a. I think they have a shifts. I'm not sure, says Delia.
Yeah, but they all know who we are, and we're walking with this creature and not being molested. I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Delia burned everything. Wow. She only has 3 first level slots left. That's what I call a job well done. So, you guys start approaching the city. Approaching the small town of Orboro. And as you guys draw near, you hear called out, Is that a bullet?
That's a Lucy.
Her name is Lucy.
Lucy kind of does that chirp of joy when Hum yells it. Okay, just keep it on a leash.
You want me to keep a bullet on a leash?
You then see the robed figure of Renwick in his disguise walks up to the side of the wall, and he sees that a lot of you are with a bullet, and he looks absolutely charmed. He's got a smile on his face, and Delia blushes. And he turns, and you see he must have said something to the guard, and then he waves for you guys to come in.
Of course, the Lich likes bullets.
It seems to be a dislike from Zachriel mostly.
And
Can't imagine why.
And I think we're going to leave it here because I want to pick up with Excavators next time with Cinna here so that she can
Makes sense.
flirt with Renwick. But I will say now that there will be no danger into the evening, so level up to 10. And spend
What?
Oh my god.
spend the rest of the time doing that.
Oh man, I was not anticipating this.
All right, so thanks for listening to our short little episode of Joy. We'll be back with GTF next time.
Bye, Joy.
Bye, Joy.
Good night, Joy.
Bye, Joy.